financial problems, elder law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by Thav Gross. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome back to Law and Reality. This segment, I want to focus on getting out of debt, but I want to kind of approach it from a thinking outside of the box perspective. I'm going to kind of give you what would be considered a radical approach at the end of the segment, and I'm going to open it up to the panel and my group, my distinguished co-hosts, Brian Small, Jenny Wingle, David Einstandig. Welcome back to this segment of Law and Reality. I'm glad to have you with me.
Always a pleasure, Ken.
And I'm going to throw out an idea on how to get out of debt that would be normally considered outrageous by some, and I'm doing it for a couple of reasons. One is I think there's a legitimate point to what I'm going to suggest at the end of the show in the right circumstance. And number two is it shows the way in which we approach debt solutions. You've got to think outside the box if you want to be creative and you want to come up with good solutions. Now, I always say credit card debt is financial cancer. We're going to set a little bit of background before we get to the radical. This isn't the radical part. Why do I say credit card debt is financial cancer? Let's take Gary's situation as an example. He makes $90,000 a year. He's in a 20% marginal tax bracket. That means on his extra dollars earning at $90,000, he's paying 20% taxes. He has $50,000 of credit card debt. He's paying 20% interest on the credit card debt. How much interest per year is he paying? You take $50,000 times 20%, and that equals, Brian?
$10,000.
Okay, and Jenny, after tax, what is the percentage of his gross income that he's paying interest?
11%.
11.11%, Jenny. That is by dividing $10,000 by $90,000. Next, his minimum payments. Typically, you're paying 2.5% of the balance on your card as a minimum payment. That's 2.5% per month at $50,000 is how much per month, David?
$1,250.
My team is cooking today. Times 12 months is how much per year?
$15K.
And $15K is what percentage of his $90,000 gross income?
Approximately 16.66%.
Correct, gigawatts.
1.21 gigawatts.
All right, now, the next question is, how much must he make to pay the $15,000 per year before taxes? If he's paying $15,000 out of pocket after tax, you take 1 minus your tax bracket rate, which is 20%. That equals 0.8. You divide that into $15,000, and the answer is $18,750 of his gross is required to net him the $15,000 to make the minimum payments, and $18,750 is 20.83% of his gross income is going to service the credit card
So
debt.
just to tread water, making no improvement in the principal balance of the debt. He's got to make...
Well,
No, he's
yes
making
and no.
improvement. He's paying
making
it off
the
the
minimum
minimum
payment.
monthly payments.
Because the 2.5% does have
Yeah,
a
well,
principal
yeah,
interest
the-
factor.
yeah, the-
but he paid it off by what decade?
It would take at 20%. It takes at that number is probably somewhere around 22 years.
and I disagree with that. You're correct on the number, and that's the statement.
if and only if
stops
you
using the
stop
cards.
using the credit
Right.
cards
So-
and you start
no-
paying it and
nobody-
never use them again.
The credit card trap is nobody ever stops using the cards when they're in that situation because you make them because you have no money. All of your money every month, anything left over, is going to make the minimum payment because you're scared to death about being 1 day late and getting a late fee and getting reported to the credit bureau and having a bad credit score, like it's going to end the world and life is going to end for you. So you take all of your money and you make the minimum payments. Then when you need to buy something, you have no money, so you use the credit card.
The balance doesn't go down.
The balance
it may
never
go,
goes down.
It may go up, but it doesn't go down. You're treading water.
Right. And that's why I say credit card debt is absolutely financial cancer. It is a cancerous growth that eats away at all disposable income for the rest of your life until you die. That's why credit card debt is financial cancer. Now, what's the solution? Assuming Gary cannot qualify for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy and a Chapter 13, because we've gone through these issues many times before, and I don't want to address them right now, but let's assume a Chapter 13 he could qualify for with Brian, but he would be paying the credit card companies more in a Chapter 13 than if he used our system of debt resolution.
Now, the one thing I want to express about Chapter 13 and where it would be beneficial is that it has to do with cash flow. Sometimes people don't have the ability to maintain those minimum monthly payments, and that's the key to settling your debt. And if you don't, but you only have half, realistically, you only have half, the Chapter 13 might repay everybody in full or might repay everybody 5 cents on the dollar. But what it does do for you is it gives you a consistent amount of money that you have to come up with every month.
Good points. Good points all the way. And the first thing we have to look at in Gary's circumstance when we evaluate whether he could do debt resolution is just like what Brian is saying is, can he afford it and will it work? So you have to look at the parameters. So let me lay those parameters out there in concrete numbers. To resolve $50,000 of debt, on average, you need it's going to take 35% of the debt for us to settle that credit card debt. So 35% times 50,000 is $17,500. The cost that we charge to settle credit card debt in debt resolution is 8.5% of the debt. That's not 15% like the rip-off debt settlement companies charge, and the 8.5% includes all defense costs if you get sued and everything else. But I don't want to make a big pitch about that. I want to get to the radical ideas I have at the end, and then we'll come back. But the bottom line is it's going to cost you $4,250 in legal expense, our way to solve the debt. So the total cost to solve the debt is $21,750. You got to include what you're paying the lawyer when you do the analysis. At $21,750, you have to ask the question, can he come up with that money soon enough where we'll be able to settle the debt? And we have a rule, and the rule is one that we created, and it's the 24-month rule. And the rule says, unless you can have the money in hand in 24 months, debt resolution will not work. There is no such thing as a 4-year plan that works. It's ridiculous. But at $1,250 a month, you divide that by $21,750. In Gary's case, he will be done in 17.5 months. So he's a go on debt resolution. We'll be back.
It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Fav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Fav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Simasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Simasco Law today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem. All right, welcome back. All right, so I said at the beginning of the segment we're going to explore how to solve credit card debt and thinking outside of the box. And I've kind of laid out as the foundation in the first bit Gary's situation. He's paying $12.50 a month on those credit cards. We know in debt resolution we can get this debt resolved in somewhere between 17 and 20 months using the $12.50 a month. So the beauty of debt resolution is he makes, instead of making the minimum payments to the credit card companies, he stops paying them.
And there's a range because it depends on
what
creditors, how much you owe. So there's a range.
Correct. I mean, it may ultimately be 35%. It may be 33%. It could be 40%. There are no guarantees, but we have a lot of experience in it, and on average, it comes out at 35%. I can tell you when you walk into the office, you tell me who your credit cards are with and who you owe, we can pretty well estimate it. We know the ones that are evil and harder to deal with, and we know the ones that are soft and easy to deal with.
And there's also wrinkles when you
let's not confuse soft and easy with they're all evil.
They're all evil, but some of them are foolish and evil.
Yes.
But sometimes you get a wrinkle where you have a business credit card that's used, and you got to look at
you
the
get
facts.
wrinkles. Well, credit unions, they're evil and smart. Okay, they're not even as evil, but they don't settle very well. They're not easy to settle with. You know, sometimes if it's all credit union debt, you're probably better off we're going to end up with.
So
Brian
we're
Lynch
at
35%. So we're at 35%. We know Gary can get out of this debt, but here's the question: he's got to make sure he has the cash flow to get this thing done, just like what Brian was saying. And if he doesn't, he may be in a 13. But I want to throw out a different issue. Have I ever said that tax debt is financial cancer? Have you ever heard me say that?
No.
I've said a lot of things about taxes over the years that you guys have known me, but I've never said that tax debt is financial cancer. And the question is, why? And the answer is, tax debt is not financial cancer. Tax debt is death and taxes are inevitable in our society. We can't get out from under them.
It's not, of course, you have to remember that there still are offering compromises with the IRS and the Michigan Department of Treasury, and sometimes income taxes are dischargeable in bankruptcy.
But on an ongoing basis, we have to pay taxes.
That's correct.
Correct. And on an ongoing basis, we have to die also. So those
so.
those two are inevitable. All right. Credit card debt is not mandatory. You're not you're going to die, you're going to pay taxes. You don't have to have credit card debt. Credit card debt has that credit card trap that once you get into it, you're sucked into it and you can't get out if you keep making the minimum payments. All your disposable income gets sucked up and goes to make those payments. No matter how much you pay, you keep using the cards, it can never go down. So here's my question. If you want to get out of credit card debt and you fall behind, and to do so you fall behind on your taxes, is that an absolute no? Or is it something to evaluate? And what I'm suggesting, and this is thinking outside the box, but I'm throwing it out to you, and I've thought a great deal about it. If you only have two options, because bankruptcy for one reason or another won't work, and you can't come up with the bread to settle the credit card debt quick enough because of your finances, if you forego paying your taxes and put the taxes on an installment payment plan and use that money to settle the credit card debt, in the end, would you be better off or worse?
Are you saying, Ken, to look at the tax man, your obligation, as a creditor?
As a bank.
As a bank,
well,
as
it's
a creditor.
Cheap interest rate.
Somebody that you owe money to.
There you go.
It's a very cheap interest
that
rate.
creditor,
you can borrow
and
from your uncle inexpensively.
Don't both talk at the same time.
That creditor,
I want you to make that point.
That creditor may have more rights than the other creditor, but you have an opportunity to work with that creditor under their programs, which are much less onerous than the typical credit card bank. So you're saying if you look at it that way and you take the risks and the rewards, the pros and the cons, it may be an out-of-the-box smart play.
Let's look at it. Okay, now because you raised a couple of issues. Brian said IRS doesn't charge you as much. IRS doesn't charge 20% interest.
No,
Jenny, in fact, Jenny, what are the late? We've talked about this on the show. The worst thing in the world to do when it comes to taxes is what? File your return late because you get hit with what kind of a penalty?
It's 5% a month up to 25%.
Which
and
means
also
25%.
It can be a criminal offense not to file your tax return.
So you always file on time. But if you filed on time and you didn't have the bread and you didn't make the payments, what's the penalty for late filing?
It's 0.5% up to 25%.
That's late
half
payment.
1% per month.
And that's up to the 25%
over a long period of time.
Over a long period of time, and it'll be 1/4%
if you're on an installment. And how much, in addition to that, does IRS charge interest on the money at the Fed rate right now?
About 3%.
It's all the way down to 3% because rates are so low.
Let me just flip this around a little bit. If Gary stopped paying his taxes, which we're not necessarily advising, but if he used the money
outside of the box,
if he used the money he collected that money and he used it to settle his credit card debts, then Gary has two choices after his credit card debts are settled to deal with his taxes. He can deal with the IRS directly through an installment payment agreement or an offer in compromise. Gary makes a lot of money, so he's probably not going to qualify for an offer.
Let's assume he's going to pay his taxes. He's not going to cheat the government.
Or Gary,
he's going to pay the taxes on an installment agreement, which
great.
Jenny's going to
72 months on that if it's less than $50,000.
I want to point something out in this plan. The only reason that this might work is because the time frame is less than 2 years before he will have the funds to start dealing with his tax problem. It's not a good idea to claim exempt or borrow from Uncle Sam for years at a time, because what's going to happen is they're going to get in the position where they can levy, and the plan is going to be blown out of the water. But at the
same time, if we get through and we're done with that debt resolution on the credit cards, Gary has to pay the tax back. Gary can go into a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, whose interest rate happens to be much more favorable.
Slow down, Geronimo. Okay, you're getting too far ahead. I want to lay it out.
Let me just finish my point.
I'll let you go with it. But
Chapter 13 bankruptcy repays the tax debt at 0% interest.
I like that. Okay. Now we're coming up to the break, but here's what I want to lay out. First of all, if the IRS is watching this, my name is Brian Small. His name is Brian Small. This is Brian Small.
David Bennett.
This person over here is David Bennett. Just in case for thinking outside the box. When we come back, I want to lay out some numbers, and then we're going to chew this around a little bit because there's a lot of issues. Remember, it's outside the box.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Fav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. It's devastating. The effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross, 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Fav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem. All right, welcome back. Before we get back to the out of the box, let me do a couple quick announcements. We have a seminar coming up Wednesday, June 3rd, End Your Debt Burden, focusing on how to preserve future income. We talked about in our last segment of the show, divorce issues. We're going to cover those in the seminar. You've got tax issues. You've got the underwater house. You've got getting rid of credit card debt. Does bankruptcy work? When should you use it? When are solutions outside of bankruptcy? The bottom line thing that people need to know, even though we have an economy that's getting better and employment is certainly a better market, it's not desperation. It's a question of where are you going to be when you're 75 and 80? Are you going to be living on Social Security because you spent the last 25 years making minimum payments on credit cards in order to keep an 800 or a 750 credit score because you thought that that was the thing to do and you have no money in the bank? Or are you going to get yourself to a point where you've got $500,000 plus in savings so that when you're ready to retire, you have enough money to live on? And people need to get that message. They don't have that message now, and they need to get it. And that's what the seminar's about. It's called End Your Debt Burden, Wednesday, June 3rd. You want to sign up for it, go to the Law and Reality website, click on the link right on the front page. You can get there on your mobile phone. You can get there on the desktop. Very easy to do. Or you can call 888-235-HELP. Free reports, Retiree's Guide to Social Security from Pat Samasco. Reg X special report. Retiree's Guide from Pat Samasco's SSI, freereport.com. Reg X is How to Save Your Home with Regulation X, The Hidden Secrets. RegXHomesaver.com. I want to thank our sponsors, Fav Gross and Samasco Law. All right, now back to our out-of-the-box solution for Gary with non-paying the payment of taxes. Let me just throw out the numbers on a chart. Let's suppose Gary made the decision. What did I say?
Just keep going.
Whatever.
There's not a lot of
Just keep
time.
going.
Suppose Gary stopped paying $20,000 of his taxes and used the money to settle his credit card debt. Here's where he'd be in 5 years. And suppose, Jenny, you put him on a 5-year installment plan to pay back the $20,000 in taxes. I'm holding everything else constant. In column 1, Gary keeps paying his taxes and keeps paying his credit card. He doesn't solve them or settle them. Column 2, he stops paying his credit cards. We settle the credit card debt for the $21,750 total cost that we projected earlier in the show. And he pays off his taxes over 5 years on an installment plan. Here's where he's going to end up. If he keeps paying the cards, he's going to pay $1,250 a month for 5 years. He's going to pay $75,000, and he's still going to owe $50,000 in credit card debt. That's what we said because of the credit card trap. If he stops paying the credit cards and we settle him, He's going to pay them $21,750 over really the next 2 years is how that's going to happen. He's going to pay $44,250 in attorney fees, and he's going to pay IRS with penalty and interest approximately $23,760. His total out of pocket at the end of the 5 years is going to be $49,760, and he's paid the taxes.
A reminder that that's the same $20,000 in taxes that Gary should have paid anyway, and we used that money to settle the debts. All we did was defer Gary paying the IRS. We didn't say that Gary wasn't going to pay the IRS.
Correct. And so what's the result? In Plan 2, he's paid out $49,760 instead of $75,000, and he has no credit card debt, whereas before if he doesn't pay off the credit card debts, he still owes $50,000. We've paid the taxes. He's still paying his taxes going forward, but the $20,000 that we used to finance it has been paid back. The bottom line is this isn't always what you should do, because when you don't pay your taxes, it's a non-dischargeable debt in bankruptcy, whereas credit card debt is. But if you analyze the situation carefully and you look through all the alternatives, should he file a Chapter 7? Could he file a 7? Should he file a Chapter 13? Should he do debt resolution? Is the cancellation of debt in the debt resolution taxable to him or non-taxable to him?
Does Gary have an IRA or 401k, which Uncle Sam, the tax man, can get to, which the credit card creditor, the bank, cannot? All comes into play.
All the issues have to be evaluated, but at the end, this is still one of the viable alternatives, and I submit to you, no one would think of doing it except us. Okay. I'm sure there's going to be a caller who comes and say, I thought about that 10 years ago. But I'm telling you, it's a question of thinking outside of the box, and the whole thing comes down to, where am I going to be in 5 years?
I disagree with you.
10 years,
It's
in
not
20.
thinking outside of the box. It's using the box. It's using the toolbox. It's using the tools of financial crisis management, which includes thinking outside of the box. And I do agree with you in that, because nobody else is going to come up with this scenario or this solution. But when you think about it and you look at it, it's using the box. It's right in front of you. You just got to take the opportunity to learn how to use the tool.
So if I get you correctly, it's thinking outside of the box by using the box. So inside of the box are the tools of financial crisis, which require you to think outside of the box in applying the tools.
Box cubed.
On those words, we are all going to enjoy the rest of the weekend and have a great week. Drive safe. Warm weather's here. Go Tigers. We will be back next week with the next segment of Law and Reality. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.